Hello, this is Professor Netzel, and this is a short asynchronous discussion of the answer to hypothet 1 on contract formation that I gave you a model answer to. So this will be in place of Wednesday's class. Hopefully this will be fairly short, about 10-15 minutes, and then I'm going to do one for a model answer to question hypothet 2. And on Friday, in Zoom class, we'll go over the model hypothet 3 and question 3 on the exam, and we will finish the exam review for the class. And then after that, I will give you a sign-up sheet, and I'll be happy to review your exam either via Zoom, and we can do that over the weekend, or later on Friday after class. Well, kind of late, but whatever you're comfortable with, and we can do it by Zoom or in person the following week. You just set up a time and come in and see it. And I'll be happy to talk about it with you after you take a look at it yourself. But my guess is that after this process, you'll be able to figure out for yourself how to do better next time. So let me review a little bit about what we talked about last Wednesday in terms of exam review. Some of it was lack of understanding of examsmanship, and that is to be expected. It was your very first time of taking final exams, and it is completely different from anything that most of you have done before in your lives, and studying for it is different too. So it takes some getting used to, and I hope that Chantal Wemprin's talk put it in a little bit of context for you, that this is just a beginning, and it happens. You go through it and you learn, and that's the important thing, is that you learn from it. In terms of exam technique, the first thing is to analyze the questions and see if the professor gave you a cue as to how it should be organized. Generally, if there is a series of questions, each one of those questions could be the start to an individual paragraph. You want to break it up so it's easy for the examiner to read. If it's easier for the examiner to read, you're more likely to get more points. If it's hard for them to read, they're going to go, is it in here somewhere? Okay, so you want to make it easy. Make it easy for me to give you as many points as possible. The second thing is that when we're talking about IRAC, each IRAC addresses one and only one legal concept. Not 2, not 10, 1. So if it's talking about offer, it's talking about offer, okay? It's not talking about vices of consent or cause or other things that you think might be an issue. If there are other legal issues, those would be other IRACs. One legal concept per IRAC. Now, in that legal concept, you explain everything that the reader is going to need to understand how that addresses the question asked, okay? So if you're talking about offer, you want everything that's necessary for that offer. Is it irrevocable? If it's irrevocable, then explain what irrevocable is. If it's possibly a counteroffer, then explain what a counteroffer is, or a request. If it's just more negotiation, explain that too. Explain if it could be an offer or an invitation to negotiate, you need to explain both, okay? So that being said, I'm going to read through the model answer to hypothet 1, the one about Mark's drone. And please accompany me as we go through this, and hopefully you'll understand why and how I addressed the answer this way, okay? So, Mark wants to sell his new mini drone with camera, so he posts it on Craigslist. B-Wines F7GB2 drone with 4K camera for adults, 3-axis gimbal, 9,800-foot range, FAA compliant, 50-minute flight time with 2 batteries, GPS auto return, plus follow me, plus beginner mode. Like new condition, originally $399. We'll let it go for $299. OBO, sir, inker only. And his email address. Marlena replies by email, I'm buying it, but for $199 and no more. Send it to me at 123 Hogwarts Street, New Orleans, Louisiana. Before Mark replies to Marlena, Andrew sends the following to Mark. Gee, Mark, that's exactly what I wanted. Will you accept $250? And if you have a carrying case, could you throw it in? Mark then replies to Andrew, I have a carrying case, but it'll cost you $275 for everything, and you have until tomorrow to think about it. Andrew replies early the next morning, yes, I'll pay $275. You can send it to 456 Dryads in New Orleans. That afternoon, Marlena again emails Mark saying, where's my drone? You did send it to me, didn't you? Mark replies, sorry, I sold it to someone else. Okay, so the first question is, what is a contract? And which elements are not at issue here, okay? And so you answer that. But you want it as precise and concise as possible, okay? So no long explanations of cause or any elaboration. So spit it out, get to the point. A contract is an agreement between two or more people where obligations are created, modified, or extinguished. It's also a promise or set of promises for the breach of which the law provides a remedy. Now, that's not a separate common law definition. That's our definition, too. If you breach a contract in Louisiana, what happens? That's right, you get damages. Or you have to do something. Okay, so both definitions work, which is why I made you memorize them. Okay, so the four elements, to continue on, the four elements of a contract include consent, cause, capacity, and a lawful, possible, determinable object. The capacity to contract is presumed as long as there is no indication that any of the three participants is a minor and interdict or temporarily deprived of reason. We'll assume they all have capacity, right? Okay. The cause for Mark is that he wants to sell his drone, and for the other two that they want to buy the drone. The object of the sale is the drone. Again, as there's no indicia otherwise, we'll assume that owning this kind of drone is lawful. Therefore, the only issue is whether there was consent. Okay, so that's an RIL connector. Review, introduce legal relationship to the next topic, which is analyze Mark's advertisement. Okay, so that was one short paragraph for the background, about this long. Okay, and I included raise and dismiss in it. So I folded the rule in with the analysis. That's raise and dismiss. So it's smushed together. It's not like this because you have 4 more to go. Okay. Next, analyze Mark's advertisement. The issue is whether Mark's advertisement is an offer or a mere invitation to negotiate. Okay. It includes the call of the question, analyze Mark's advertisement. I don't know why I'm getting a hands up there. Okay, so it's got the call to the question. It's got 2 legal concepts, offer or an invitation to negotiate, and it's got Mark and the advertisement. So it's got a couple facts, all the 3 things in an issue statement. An offer is a manifestation of willingness to enter into a bargain so made as to justify another person understanding their assent is invited and will conclude the bargain. It contains 3 requirements. It must be addressed to a particular person. 2, it must have sufficient terms so that a court could enforce the resulting agreement. And 3, it must contain the speaker's objective intent to be bound. In other words, the recipient must reasonably think the offerer intends to be bound if the recipient just says yes. Now, this is where the largest majority of poor answers fell down because they didn't have a complete explanation of objective intent. And indeed, that's the hardest part of this question, is understanding what objective intent is. But it comes into contract law so often that you really need to understand what it means. And so a good solid definition is what you need there, not just a genuflection to objective intent. Okay. So Mark's advertisement, here's the analysis. The first paragraph was rule, issue and rule, and very often it's easy to break it up this way. The second paragraph will be analysis and conclusion. Mark's advertisement describes his drone pretty specifically. It even names a price, but it is addressed to the public in general, not a particular person. Furthermore, it does not contain an objective intent to be bound because he indicates the price is not firm, OBO means or best offer, and he stipulates that he only wants to hear from people who are seriously interested. Therefore, a reasonable person reading this advertisement would conclude that Mark intends to negotiate the sale of the snake. Not a snake, this one is a drone, sorry. I'm confusing both of them. So it's an invitation to negotiate and not an offer, okay? Snakes and drones, okay. Number 3. Okay, so this one asks you to analyze Marlena's email and its legal effect. Does she have an argument that Mark breached a contract with her? Okay, do I have to repeat the definition of offer? No. I might need to address assent, but we'll see, okay? In contrast with Mark's advertisement, Marlena's first email, I'm buying it, but for $199 and no more, is an offer. Okay, it's addressed to a particular person. I don't have to repeat it because we had the definition earlier. It's addressed to a particular person, Mark, names a particular sum of money, $199, and Mark could reasonably conclude from the definiteness of her language, I'm buying it, that Marlena intends to be bound if he just says yes. And next, the problem is that she follows that by directing him to send it to her address. So it seems as if she's assuming that she and Mark already have a contract, or that her offer includes an invitation to accept by performance. But it's not clear from the tone of it. It's like, I'm buying it. I'm accepting. But you can't do that. There was no offer, Marlena. There's no offer. You can't accept it if there's no offer. For consent to be present, an offer must meet with an acceptance. Aha! Here's where we get that acceptance definition. An unconditional agreement to the terms of the offer. There's no offer that Marlena could accept, so therefore there's no contract, just her offer to buy the snake for $199 if Mark agrees to sell it to her. Okay, so that's how we wove in the definition of assent. Okay, number 4 was analyze Andrew's email. Okay, again, this involves an offer, so you don't need to repeat the definition again. You just analyze it or apply it again. Andrew also responds to Mark's advertisement, but his response is more reasonable than Marlena's. It's addressed to a particular person, Mark, contains sufficient terms, $250 and a carrying case, and by using the language, will you accept, it would be reasonable for Mark to think that Andrew intends to be bound if Mark just says yes. Consequently, Andrew's response is an offer, just more politely stated than Marlena's. Okay? So you can always throw in a little extra. What you want to do is show that you're following the intercourse between these two hypothetical people, okay? That you're doing your best to sort of say, oh, well, this is how it goes in real life. This is what these people are thinking. Okay, number 5. Analyze Mark's reply to Andrew. Okay, now is where, okay, so Mark says, okay, I've got a carrying case, but it's going to cost you $275. So what do we need to talk about now that we haven't talked about before? Probably counteroffer, okay? So Mark responds to Andrew by stating that it will cost Andrew $275 for everything, and that he has until, an irrevocable offer, till tomorrow to think about it. Okay? Offers in Louisiana can be revocable or irrevocable. They are irrevocable if they give the recipient either specifically or impliedly time to consider the offer. Furthermore, a response that seems to accept an offer but is contingent on new terms is a counteroffer that has 2 effects. First, it terminates, i.e. impliedly rejects the original offer, and 2, it substitutes a new offer. Mark doesn't seem to accept Andrew's offer. Okay, he doesn't say, I accept the $250. But he does impliedly reject it, and he presents a new offer to Andrew by stating that Andrew can have the drone plus the carrying case for $275. This is still a counteroffer because it's addressed to a particular person. Andrew has specific terms, drone and case for $275, and is contingent on this changed term. If you want the case, it'll cost you. And again, it contains Mark's objective intent to be bound because it would be reasonable for Andrew to think that if he just says yes, Mark intends to sell him both drone and case. Okay, so you see how I wove it in? How many concepts? Just one, okay? Maybe a little different aspect to it. If we've got 2 closely allied things, offer, counteroffer, irrevocable offer, those are all aspects of the same issue, but I'm not talking about, say, vices of consent or donations or anything else. It's just offer and its related terms. Finally, Analyze Andrew's reply to Mark. As mentioned earlier in number 3, going back, acceptance is an unconditional assent to the terms of the offer. Okay, this time I did repeat it, but only shortly. Mark's response, yes, I'll pay $275, unconditionally agrees to Mark's terms. Therefore, as there is an offer that has met with an acceptance, Mark and Andrew have a contract. Marlena is left out in the cold as her offer to Mark was never accepted and is now terminated by Mark's having sold the drone to Andrew. And that is the end of this particular, hopefully, 15-minute lecture or review of hypothet number 1 for this week.